Are we going to go through my entire career?
We don't need to go through the entire
Oh my
thing.
gosh,
And
Ryan.
We could do like...
We don't have much time.
We could do like...
Man, we could see it coming over the hill, and it was like nothing I'd ever seen before. I mean, it was terrifying, very sad. Got my grandfather's paintings out, which were the things that I value the most, and they actually are of the most value physically. But that's about it. We had about a half hour. We were given about a half hour. The cops came and just said, "That's it, gotta go."
The cops were like knocking on the door and saying, okay.
They weren't letting anyone hang out.
Yeah.
Some people fought, went, pretended to go up the street, came back and fought the fire in their home. Some survived, some didn't.
Yeah.
So it was very touch and go there. It's crazy. You don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Nothing really prepares you for it. I have friends who are like, oh, well, we didn't keep any important documents in the house, and we didn't keep any important mementos in the house, and we didn't keep any keepsakes in the house. And you're going, well, that's what's in your house, and so everybody's different. And if you get to that moment of panic, which thank God I didn't, you can forget things. You have to be picky. You have to you pick your battles literally of what you really need and what you can't do without. And photographs, as you know, daughter's artwork, things like that, those are things you can't get back. Photographs of family that have passed on, things that you never ended up scanning, right? It's funny how...
You're always like, I'm going to get to that.
I'm going to get to that,
Yeah.
right? It's very sad. The whole thing is sad. The landscape has changed, both in the Palisades, Altadena, Malibu. It's never going to be the same. It's changed forever. And it's a great tragedy because it's the community. And, I only moved there, like I said, maybe 38 years ago. But my wife grew up there, she was... on the beaches with her friends surfing when she was a kid, and she was devastated when we woke up the next morning and drove around. We're like, this is nuts, When you're up in the mountains, you have your next door neighbors, and then you have the community as a whole. Malibu Strong we've always had that phrase, and it's a belief system that you can put us down, but we're always going to get back up. So we'll see what the new Malibu ends up looking like. I don't know. It's not going to be the same, that's for sure. But hopefully people get back on their feet, and that's all you can do is, hope and pray, right? It was one of those kismet things. I'm very much a believer in manifestation because I grew up as a kid who became fascinated with movies, fascinated with TV, obviously, and that became my friend. And so I would sit in front of the television and just try and figure out how I'm going to get inside that box and have as much fun as those people are having. So that was my escapism, and I'm really I would find my favorite actors, my favorite directors, my favorite movies, and I would play them over and over again to study them, study everything, study the performances, study the direction, study the writing, study the whole thing, right? Ad nauseum. Then began reading books of my favorite actors, of Ralph Richardson, Olivier Burton, O'Toole. Figure out where they came from, how they approached their work, and people who inspired me. And so, comedy. Huge. Mel. You can't talk comedy without talking about Mel. He's the king of comedy. He really is the king. I call him Rabbi because that was his character's name in Robin Hood. But he came to one of the first screenings of Princess Bride at Fox. And it was a private screening. And he brought Carl Reiner and Gene Wilder. And so two titans, right next to him. And my then agent made me stand outside the screening room to greet all the guests coming out. And he came out and he went, "You were really great in this, and well done, terrific." And I'm like, "Wow, Mr. Brooks, thank you." He goes, "No, call me Mel, call me Mel." And then Carl Reiner comes over and goes, terrific, great stuff, wonderful. You're a star. I'm like, oh, thank you, Mr. Reiner. It really means a great deal to me. And I'd known him obviously a little bit through Rob, but then Gene Wilder, who I grew up with, who I'd studied, like I mentioned earlier, and studied everything he'd done, from Wonka to Young Frankenstein, everything. Producers, and he comes up and he goes, "That was really a beautiful, beautiful performance, Cary. Really, really touched me. It was really well done. You really did your homework." And I thought, wow, Gene Wilder, these three people just blessed me with, they didn't have to stop and say hi. They could just go straight to the valet, get their cars and take off, you know? And I thought, okay, we did good. I got, those are the kind of reviews I want to get, yeah? I don't care too much about, people want to nitpick about things, but to get that from my peer group right off the bat gave me the confidence really to like really pursue this seriously and feel like I had a good shot at it. And then a few years later, my phone rang at home and it was Mel, and I picked up and he went, "Is Cary there?" I said, and he has that great voice of his. He's like, "Is Cary there?" I said, "Who's this?" He goes, "It's Mel Brooks." I went, "Yeah, right," and I hung up on him. Because I thought someone was pranking me, you know? Why else would Mel Brooks be calling me at home? And he called back and he said, don't hang up, it's really me. And he said, come on into the office, I want to talk to you about this movie I'm making about Robin Hood. And I said, I'll be right there. And we met and fell in love, and that was it, yeah. He loves to work, Mel. You know, he's very, very active. He's, you know, he was an inspiration to me growing up, as I mentioned. You know, to get his blessing that, okay, you're going to star in my movie, and you're going to take the place of, had he made that movie 20 years earlier, it would have been Gene, for sure. For me to take that spot, I mean, you know, that's a big deal. Mm-hmm. And I didn't take it lightly, and we had the greatest. He says to me to this day, he's like, that was the most fun I've had making a movie. I mean, I loved Frankenstein, coming here and producing all that. He said, working with you was the greatest joy. And so I check in on him at least a few times a month. I either speak to him on the phone or FaceTime him or go see him, preferably go see him, check on him. And he's doing great. You know, I hope I have all my faculties together at 99 like he does, I'll tell you. And still working. I mean, you know, only him and Norman Lear were two folks working, you know, up until their hundreds, you know. And so he's got Spaceballs 2, I think, coming out, and he's got this that he produced with Taika Waititi. And, yeah, I was like, I said, you work more than I do, Mel. He's like, I got to keep busy. I don't think he likes sitting around, you know? It's a series for FX because that's where Taika really has made his home with What We Do in the Shadows. So obviously they were like, what else have you got? And he said, well, I don't know if you'd like it. I've got this thing. It's sort of a series about Young Frankenstein, the great-grandson or whatever. And they're like, psh, let's go. So we shot the pilot. We'll see what happens. Taika's terrific. Yeah. Just one of the great directors. He's just lovely to work with. Really, being an actor himself. Actors make the best directors. They really do. And I've been fortunate. I've worked with a lot of actor-directors. And they get it. You know, there's a lot of shorthand that, you know, you have to spend a lengthy amount of time going over things. You just kind of, with a look, you know. Well, I've talked a lot about Rob and how much I adore Rob. He's just the sweet, another actor-director, just so fun on the set, just a joyful human being, and brings that joy with him, and it's infectious. Same with Mel. You know, that joy, that playfulness, right? I find that very conducive to creativity, frankly. No one likes to work in an environment where it's stressful. And the best directors, like Taika and these guys, they come with pure joy in their heart. And what a accomplishes is everybody comes, it reciprocates. It's infectious, as I say. Rob, I don't know if he was. I think he was at that screening. I think he was the one invited, obviously his dad and Mel, to the Fox screening. And, you know, the movie didn't do a lot of business when it came out, which was shocking. And it really found its feet in ancillary. The whole cast are great, don't get me wrong. But Carol I'm particularly fond of. I knew her slightly. I'd met her at a ballet in Paris. And she was one of my favorite actors growing up. I'd studied her too, you know, Ragtime and Carnal Knowledge, Last Detail. I just thought, wow, this woman is extraordinary, powerful. Just the minute you see her on screen, you're just locked in, and there's a deep, deep soul there, you know. And she's also very joyful, you know. I mean, you could barely notice her under the, you know, 5 layers of latex on her face to play Valerie. But again, I stayed friends with the whole cast. That's the thing about that movie. It became a family affair. We all lived in the same hotel. We all got to know each other really, really well. And are still in touch to this day, all of us, which is great. After Princess Bride was Glory. Yeah, that was Freddie Fields came to me. Freddie Fields, who used to be an agent, and then turned producer. And he used to represent, I think, Dustin Hoffman. And he was a great history buff, as I am. And he called me one day, and he said, I've got this script. It's about a little-known story about a black regiment, the 54th Massachusetts. And it's really powerful. I think you'll dig it. Go. I'm sending it to you. And if you like it, call me back. And that was like, I think, Thanksgiving. And I read it. And then the holidays were upon us, the Christmas holidays, and I called him back. I couldn't reach him. I thought, okay, I tried him again, couldn't reach him. I thought, okay, well, that was nice while it lasted. It was a terrific script. And then he called me on Christmas Eve at home. And he goes, what's this thing? Your agents are suggesting that you're going to do this for scale. I'm like, really? I think I would remember that conversation. He said, this is nuts. You know, I'm going to make the deal with you right now on the phone. Now, how many people do that, Ryan? I hadn't worked in a year. I got offered every swashbuckling movie under the sun. I just didn't want to do it. And I needed to work. And he said, listen, kid, always call me kid. He said, kid, we'll make the deal, you and I, right here. And he made me a very generous offer to come be in the movie. And we became fast friends after that. I just thought, that's a dying breed in Hollywood. People who do that, go bypass the crazy and get straight to the point. And of course, he put together a terrific cast. Matthew and Morgan, whom I did 3 or 4 movies with, actually. And Denzel was terrific. And, I fell in love with Morgan. Loved Denzel, but fell in love with Morgan. He just captured my heart. He's the most, talk about joyful, an extraordinary talent, just extraordinary. And we laughed a lot and had a great time. Yeah, Ed Zwick directing, great movie. Either I find out that he's on something and I'm trying to figure out a way to get on it, or he calls me and goes, this is happening. Kiss the Girls, Gary Fleet already knew that we were friends, and he already had me in mind for that role, for the detective. And so it was just a lovely reunion for us, you know. There's a shorthand with friends, which, same as I mentioned with directors who are actors, it's this easy shorthand and just a joyful thing. It's a shorthand and an understanding of respecting the other character. You respect the person, obviously, but you respect the character they're bringing to the table and their process. And Morgan's like that, you know. And very inclusive, really supportive, always there off camera. Some actors take off and let you do it with a stand-in, but he's right there and into it. And yeah, He's the real thing. He doesn't take himself seriously, but he takes his work very seriously. And I'm very much of that, cut from that cloth. So we goof around a lot, and then when they say places, or we're right in it. And so yeah, I admire that about him. I love that about him. He's very funny. He's a very funny man. So we have a lot of fun working together. Actually, you know what? Tom is really another supportive human being. Very, very, very there for the actors, for the show, for everybody, the crew, everybody. He's very, very inclusive and very, very supportive, and only wants everyone to do their best work. And his theory is that, if you do your best work, it makes him look great. And that's a great work ethic. He's extraordinarily focused, this guy. His nickname on Days of Thunder was Laserhead. But yeah, he was really a joy. We had a tough shoot. It was... We kind of threw away the script and then brought in Bob Town, who came and rewrote the whole thing as we were shooting. And from my limited knowledge of movies, I hadn't heard of anybody doing that since John Huston with African Queen, just saying, we'll just shoot it. Shoot it as we go. And that's pretty much what we did. We got new pages every morning. But it came together great. It was a terrific cast. Michael Rooker, Randy, Duval, who, again, manifested, studied his work. Here I am with the great Robert Duvall. He's the real thing, too. Tom only surrounds himself with the best. Myself notwithstanding. He really does make sure that everyone that he puts himself in that job with are all top-notch people who come to work and are prepared and know their stuff. And it was the great Tony Scott who we lost, and I miss him to this day. He was just another really joyful director, just a sweetheart. Funny, he makes all these films that are action-driven and explosions and, but a big softie, and that was a great loss. And I was so grateful to Tom. I always say to him whenever I see him, I say, I'm so glad you introduced me to that guy and brought him into my life, because he became a friend, and he's part of me. Part of him is still with me, for sure. Ridley was worked on magazines and did illustrations. They both went did advertising in England, really cut their teeth doing fantastic commercials, cutting edge, which is how they broke into film. I haven't worked with Ridley, although I got to know him a little bit over the years, but Tony was just one of a kind. We'll never see his like again, just lovely. And the films, he to live in his brother's shadow a little bit probably couldn't have been easy, because, his brother's an extraordinary talent too. And, Tony had a specific kind of movies that he wanted to make, stories he wanted to tell. But I think we lost him too short. I remember when he did The Hunger, I went and did Dracula with Coppola, and I got to know Francis really well and got to share stories in our life and background and everything. I'm obviously a huge fan of Francis. I studied his work too. Another manifestation that came to pass. And I picked his brain on what movies he inspired him while he was working on the picture. And he said, oh, well, he doesn't get enough credit, but Tony Scott's The Hunger, I'm telling you. So I couldn't wait to get on the phone and call Tony. Tony's like, what? He likes my movie? What? Very humble. But extraordinary talent. His films always had heart.
Yeah, for sure.
The characters, you got deeply involved in the characters. With Denzel, Man on Fire, all of them. It wasn't just things blowing up, people getting shot, and he was deeply invested in the character and the story, which I think is what makes the Scott brothers just so extraordinary as storytellers. Working with Tom, I think I mentioned earlier, you can expect nothing but the best. just great quality. And I don't want to say it again because I sound repetitive, but I grew up watching the TV series, and that was one of the shows that when I was a kid going, I want to be in there doing that, having fun doing that. And then getting that call from Tom, I'm like, dude, my bags are packed. And got to work with the great Christopher McQuarrie, who's a terrific director and writer, just extraordinary talent. Again, very, very loving, very supportive, very inclusive, very creating an environment of creativity and that's obviously why Tom was attracted to him in the first place. Yeah, great fun, great fun. Liar Liar became very close with Jim Cary, and to this day, and sometimes you make lifelong friends on a show, and that's another great bonus to what we do. And he's one of them. He's really a terrific friend and an extraordinary talent. And I get a lot of people coming up to me and asking me to do the claw for them, which is the strangest thing. But sometimes you do something, you never know how people are going to react. But that seems to have locked in with people. Saw, shot it in 18 days at Lacey Studios with James Wan and Lee Whannell. Terrific, folks. Really, we didn't even have chairs to sit on. We didn't have time for that. It was the whole thing was shot handheld, because they literally would do the wide, medium, bam, and that's how we made our day, And I kind of like moving at that speed. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but to me, it's like if you have too much time sitting around, like we did on Twister, and just sitting around learning how to play hearts and, playing Monopoly and sitting around and thinking, this is nuts, months going by without getting a shot. You have too much time to overthink it. You can get in your own head as an actor, or at least I can. And you don't want to overthink these things. You could go ad nauseam wondering of the different ways in which you can explore a scene, and that's not healthy. Usually your gut instinct. I always write down my notes on a script right away, because you'll never get that first reaction, that initial response to a script ever again. If you go back and try and reread it later, it's not the same thing. I always make my notes right away, because that's my gut instinct. Great show. Got friendly with Bill Paxton, God bless him, another one we lost too soon. Lovely guy. Really sweet, really terrific guy. Just great. We were out in Oklahoma. At some point, they had us chasing storms, which I don't think you can get away with today. Sometimes we had a wrap because the storm came a little bit too close, and we didn't have the equipment back then to really. You don't know with a tornado; it can turn on a dime. They're like, oh, don't worry, it's going to go over there. We'll be fine, right? Suddenly it's going to pack everything up. Let's go. It's nuts. We had great fun. Michael Crichton's script, great script. Kathy Kennedy producing, terrific. I fell in love with her right away. Just wonderful, extraordinary talent, and a lovely human being. Not a lot of time to overthink anything on TV. TV moves. It's its own beast. It moves at its own pace. And I like that. I really do. I like just going out there and just seeing what happens. You can come with a lot of preconceived ideas for where you think the scene should go, where your character should go. But I find that if you can have that in the back of your head if things don't go the way it's planned. But the best way for me is to allow the energy and the situation and the people I'm working with in that scene, their energy, take it where it's going to go. That's the honest way to deal with it, in my opinion, anyway. So I was very fortunate. My brother produced the picture, Cassian Elwes. He's a wonderful independent film producer and is one of my heroes besides being my brother. And he's quite a force in the independent world, you know. Became very friendly with the late Robert Redford for his contributions to the Sundance Film Festival. And he had been Gus's agent at one point when he quit producing and became an agent at William Morris, and had tried to figure out a way to make a movie with him, because he didn't just want to be his agent. He knew he wasn't going to be an agent forever. He wanted to go back to producing. He missed it. He said he missed the action, you know. So he did. He left William Morris and went back to producing and kept in touch, obviously, with all his clients, right? And one of his favorite, of course, is Gus, because everybody loves Gus. I mean, he's Gus Van Sant, you know. And so he would send him scripts all the time and say, what do you think about this? And Gus would say, it's not for me. Send him another one. No. This went over, I think, almost a decade of trying to find something.
That's a lot of Gus rejection.
No, my brother refuses to quit. He's not a quitter. Yeah. And I'll tell you, we'll get to that in a second. Finally, he finds this script, Dead Man's Wire, based on a true story, kidnapping, February 1977 in Louisville, in Indianapolis. We shot it in Louisville, in Indianapolis. Real life hijacking and kidnapping. Real life kidnapping, I should say. And I didn't know the story, but it was written by Austin Kolodny, a terrific script, really moves fast. And Cassian had another director attached who fell out at the last minute. And then the funding, the guy who put the money together, because Cassian has to get money where he can get it for independent films, you know. The financier said, listen, Cass, I didn't give you this money just to hold on to. Yep. Either you make the pitch or I want it back. And now he's panicking because he's already spent some of it. And he's thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? He's literally stressed out. And he said he went to the Soho House to just relax, have lunch by himself, figure out what he was going to do. And as he's sitting there, he sees Gus walking out the door. And he's like, oh my God, Gus, it's perfect for Gus. And he runs over to him and says, Gus, it's me, Cassian. Oh, hey, Cass, how you doing? Yeah. Hey, listen, I've got a script for you. I think it's great. I think you'll love it. It's right up your alley. It's, misunderstood characters, and, it's right up your street. And Gus said, okay, well, just send it to me. And so Cass sent it to him. And the next day, Gus called back and said, I like it. And Cass said, great, okay. Waited 10 years to get this going, working with this man. This dream come true for me. I finally get to work with someone who's an idol to me. And he knew he had to get it done quickly, because Gus, if he sits on it too long, can change his mind, And I called him. I found out he was doing it. I called him. I said, Cass, you got to get me on this movie. It's Gus Van Sant. I got to work with him. He's the best. I mean, every actor worth their salt wants to work with this man, right? I got to do it. You got to find him. No. He said, it's absolutely not. I've spent 10 years trying to get this guy to sign on the dotted line. I'm not going to blow it by forcing my brother on him. There's no way. I said, just ask him. If he says no, it's fine. He's not going to quit the movie because you've, ask him if your brother can be in it. It's like, okay, I just don't get your hopes up. I'm not going to push it. So a week goes by. Calls me back. He goes, I spoke with Gus. And I told him you wanted to be in the movie. And he goes, do you think your brother would be in my movie? And I said, God, I should have tapped that talent a long time ago. Why did I wait till now? Turns out he loves my work. And we get on the phone. He said, what part do you want to play? And I think he suggested at first I play the FBI agent as this straight-laced guy, in suit, tie. I often get offered those roles, Ryan. And I said, no, if it's all right with you, Gus, I want to try the working class, blue-collar guy, the detective, local Indianapolis Police Department, undercover narcotics. I said, nobody offers me those blue-collar roles. I really want to sink my teeth into it. I think I can do it. He's like, great. So I went down to Indianapolis. I hooked up with my character's two sons, my character passed away about a decade ago. Hooked up with his two sons who were really supportive of me doing the role, and they supplied me with so much material, Ryan. They gave me audio, they gave me visual, they gave me books, they gave me photo albums, they gave me everything. And so I kind of just absorbed all of it. I would listen to him all day in my earpods. I'd study his interviews, and I just became. The Indianapolis Public Library was very helpful too. They at first they wouldn't let me get to the microfilm. They said you had to be a resident, and a few selfies later they were kind of cool, which was great. So thank you to the Indianapolis Public Library, and they supplied a lot of. They have all the newspapers from the event, so that was great, and stuff on Grable. And so I really kind of inhabited him. I got his behaviors, all his tics from the kids, and kind of tried to inhabit him. And what's great about Gus is he really encourages his actors to live in the character, to be there and be present as the person you're playing. And he, again, another great director who creates an environment that is completely conducive to creativity, just so experimental and trying new things. I mean, even though we had 19 days, and we had a lot more locations than Saw. Saw was like mainly chained to a wall in a bathroom, for most of the movie, And we never left Lacey Studios. Here we were in Kuritz's apartment and the police department, but we also had to get up and move around a bit. But that didn't faze Gus at all. He didn't have a shot list. He's like 1 or 2 takes tops, which again is right up my alley. And we discovered together something really fun. We discovered that my character knew Tony Kuritzis. They shared time in a local coffee shop, and he was friends with cops. Tony Kuritzis, Bill Skarsgård's character, and this is a character who felt marginalized, Kuritzis, and wanted to get his power back from the mortgage company that he felt had done him wrong. And Gus and I discovered that it would be fun if we gave that similar journey to Mike Grable, that he gets marginalized by Kuritzis, who wants to do some sort of a power play, right, and marginalize my character. And Gus said, why don't we find a way for you, as Grable, to redeem that power status in your journey. And it's a great parallel, and so that was fun. It's a fun movie. People think from the title, Ryan, that it's a heavy movie, it's kidnapping, and it's going to be a downer and what have you. But Gus managed to combine 3 different genres in this picture. And by the way, it's not a movie, it's a film, it's cinema. He got inspired by his favorite 70s filmmakers, Sidney Lumet, Friedkin, it's all of that. Scorsese got all of it. So it's a real cinema, right? But it's also got 3 genres. It's action-packed, it's drama, but it's also very dark humor. Mm-hmm. And there's not a moment on film where you're bored. It moves so fast, and it's so exciting and so clever. And Bill is terrific. Skarsgård as Tony is just wonderful. No one's ever seen him do this kind of a role before. The whole cast was great. Coleman, Domingo, Myhala, Dacre, who I worked with, Montgomery on Stranger Things, is terrific as Dick Hall. And of course, Al Pacino, who needs no introduction. The only political thing I have to say about it is I have the same feeling that Tom has, and that is that we need to support the film business, okay? The experience of being in this movie needs to be seen in the theater, by the way. You need to enjoy the ride with strangers or with your friends, but in a theater, because you're going to be laughing out loud as opposed to snickering with your buddies on the couch. It's really a film to be seen on the big screen. And I grew up with movies and film. And so, like, as Tom says, that experience is a unique phenomenon. You're in a darkened room with strangers. You all experience the same emotions together. You laugh, you cry, you get excited. You can't do that at home. I mean, you can buy the most expensive TV and set up, you put up in your living room or your bedroom or whatever, but you'll never be in a room with strangers and experience something, that thrill ride together. And that, to me, if we're seeing the demise of that would just be a great pity, in my humble opinion, because it's a great art form. It's a completely unique art form, filmmaking. It combines wonderful other art forms, photography, performance, writing. But the unique thing about it is editing. And so it's an art form that this country has perfected and turned into something that I don't think anywhere else in the world. I mean, we have wonderful filmmakers, don't get me wrong, from all over the world, but American cinema is really, it's a cultural phenomenon. And I would be really saddened if my daughter in 10, 15 years is having a hard time finding a movie in the theaters. I really would. Streaming has its place. I don't knock it. It's another new art form. I get it. It's a lot of material available to you and content. But like I said, I don't think that one should overtake the other. I don't think that movies should suffer as a result of over-streaming, if you will. So I'll just put it like that.
Yeah.
I'm just praying that the movie industry doesn't suffer because it's already having a hard time. COVID and then the strikes. It went through a tough period, and it would just, like I said, it'd be a great pity to see that art form disappear. Really, truly, love going to the movies. It's my go-to date with my wife. Well, going to the first screening of Dead Man's Wire, I was unbelievably impressed that. I know I'm plugging my own film, but I was so impressed that Gus, in 19 days, put that together. You look at it, you go, my God, this is a $30, $40, $50 million movie, easy. And, how he did that, he had the whole movie in his head, and all the performances, and able to make quick adjustments, and experiment. He had time to experiment, which is incredible. I mean, I worked muscles I haven't worked since acting school with him. I'm like, wow, this is fun, really fun. I don't force her to do anything. My daughter, I don't force her to do anything. We don't. I'm a parent that I encourage her, and I nurture her dreams and desires. That's my job. Fortunately, she got bit by the bug very early, and so she's studying film right now, and in college, and loving it. I told her she should definitely take a film theory class and a film history class. She said, no, I don't want to do this. It's too much essays I want to write. I said, you get to watch movies and get credit for it, which is what I did. I said, only in America can that happen. Go into a theater and they make you watch a movie and you get credit. I'm like, this is genius. And I had a terrific film professor at my college, just amazing. Showed me films taught me about Truffaut and Gillo Pontecorvo, and just amazing films, right? So about a week later, she calls me and goes, oh, Dad, there's this film history class. They show you movies and you get credit for it. I go, sounds like a great idea. She calls me a week later and she goes, the first film they showed us was Casablanca. I'm like, you're in the right class. You're in the right class. Vertigo. She watched Vertigo, was the second movie. Hitch, extraordinary. Hitch would say that the storyboards and the script were more fun than the actual the process of making the picture, because he already had the movie in his head. Yeah, I got to watch all those movies at college. It was a great. I went straight from studying movies at home on TV in England to just picking right up where I left off and having a whole new world of films, of foreign directors being introduced to me, where I just, it opened up my world, Ryan, just in a way I fell in love with Truffaut, just crazy in love with him. Just an extraordinary storyteller. From 500 Blows, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And Day for Night, Finally Sunday. I mean, these became part of my library. And I would watch these movies over and over and over again. That goes for Mel Brooks, that goes for Rob Reiner, whoever. I would just watch them over and over again, Francis Coppola, just till I knew every scene, I knew every line, I knew every angle, I knew every moment, and downloaded it, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Marlon, anything Marlon did, download it. Just, it's in the reserve. Got to do it. And that was my education. I was very, very fortunate, very blessed to have, my dreams come true, Pinch me. Richard's a friend, and I took my wife on a date to see that, and man, it's a terrific movie. He's a wonderful, wonderful filmmaker, Richard. And this film is it's beautiful. It's a love letter to the New Wave, and it's Truffaut's in it, of course, with Godard. And you feel like you're watching the documentary of the making of Breathless. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. It's extraordinary. I think we covered it.
We did it.
Yeah, I think we covered it all. I feel pretty good. Do you?
Great. Yes.
Good.
Awesome. Yeah.
Excellent.